From Grand Chute, Wisconsin, wrapping up the first day of the 2017 Division III World Series, I'm Pat Coleman, joined by Jim Dixon, the man in charge of D3Baseball.com. And the first day of the Division III World Series, Jim, a day where games got off on time. We don't have to talk about weather. We don't have to talk about sloppy play. We had 4 great games, a couple of two two-run games, a 1-run game, and a 3-run game, and just some fantastic baseball overall.
It really was a great time to be out here, and especially being at TarpCon 5.
TarpCon 5.
We don't have to worry about rain, at least for this day, and it's nice to get the whole day's games in.
Yeah, if you don't know what TarpCon is, just look up the hashtag TarpCon on Twitter or revisit any of our 2016 coverage. Fran Elia, I blame you at Cortland State for messing up all of the weather last year. We had fantastic weather today, fantastic pitching, as is often the case on the first day of the tournament, starting with our first game between W&J and Concordia of Chicago. Again, of course, this is a field that comes in fairly balanced. There's only one top 10 team here in this field, and W&J gives Bryce Schnatterly the start. He goes 7 innings, gives up just 2 runs. Nick Gattens with 3 runs, a couple of RBIs, and W&J put up a 3 spot on Concordia Chicago in the 3rd and made that stand up.
Yes, Concordia, number 4 seed, lost to the lower seeded Washington Jefferson. And Washington Jefferson didn't even have their number 1 pitcher available. And so they're probably looking pretty for tomorrow.
Yeah, Riley Groves, of course, the number 1 starter, President's Athletic Conference Player of the Year, Pitcher of the Year, but he started one of the games on the final day of the Mideast Regional on Monday, so he would have been coming back on short rest, and he's had a lot of work. We'll talk a little bit more about what pitchers teams have coming back, but the big news on the Concordia Chicago side, Jim, Brian Van Duser, leadoff home run on the first pitch of the game and then got injured in the 8th.
And on the second at bat, he almost had another one. He put the ball to the warning track. Mm-hmm. He needs to be back if Concordia Chicago wants to sit there and take the series. Everything's looking positive. We're just waiting for the swelling to go down, and we'll see tomorrow whether or not he makes a start.
Yeah, and he'll have to be ready by 10 a.m., of course, because Concordia lost the first game. They'll be playing and coming back early in the first game on Saturday. So W&J advanced into the winner's bracket. They'll be facing Roanoke, who continued their run about the run that Roanoke has had this postseason. They defeated Oswego State by the score of 8-7. Both coaches talked about it in the postgame, Jim. It was an opportunity where Oswego got a couple of runs on the board in the first. Eric Hamilton just mashed a ball over the left field fence. Roanoke came right back and scored. Then Oswego scored 4 runs in the 4th and was unable to get the shutdown inning the next time around. Roanoke scored in the 5th, scored in the 6th, and Oswego got nothing done against the Roanoke bullpen.
Once again, the story is top seed going down, and it's really surprising the run that Roanoke has had. Both Pat and I know Roanoke very well, yeah. And it's really nice to see a school from that area, from the ODAC, sitting and making some noise here at the Division III World Series.
Yep. Roanoke College is the school in Salem, Virginia. Of course, Salem hasn't hosted the baseball championship in this millennium, but they've hosted many other Division III baseball, Division III championships. Will Black, 4 for 4. He was on base all 5 times, got hit by a pitch. His catcher for Roanoke had a really big afternoon, but we can't go any further without talking about the performance that Sal Trancucci, freshman, had out of the bullpen for the Maroons. Just a fantastic turn in relief today.
They had their number 1 starter going, and he ran into a little bit of trouble. And this was a game where both teams were scoring runs in bunches. And so it was nice for him to come in and shut Oswego State down.
He got the win. He improves to 7-2. Tim Cronin takes the loss, falling to 9-2. Rawlings Cumbie with the save. He got the final 2 outs for his 5th save of the season. So that's the top bracket. The NCAA folks here are calling them Pool A and Pool B, which if you follow Division III sports is like the worst thing you can call your brackets. Pool A and Pool B are terminology terms that are already used elsewhere in Division III. We're going to call them Bracket 1 or Bracket 2, or we might call them the top bracket and the bottom bracket. And as you recall, it's the format we switched to a couple years ago. The winner of the top bracket and the winner of the bottom bracket will meet in a best of 3 series, so they each play a double elimination. That was the top bracket. On the bottom half of the bracket, we start with North Central and UMass Boston. North Central, another team on a fantastic run. They had to win 2 games to come back and win the CCIW tournament. They were the 5th seed of 6 in the Central Regional, and they were fantastic here again today.
In the Regional, they're pitching finally came together, and they were able to sit there and have a pitching staff that was 3 points better than they were during the regular season. But once again, the story is another top seed going down.
And it's in this case, it's Austin Polzel with the stellar turn on the mound for the Cardinals. Complete game, 4-hitter, only walked 2, gave up the 2 runs as he improved to 5-3. Just a fantastic, another fantastic pitching outing, and he really made quick work. Both the starters, him and Matt Tully of Mass Boston, went through long stretches where there was just setting down guys left, right, and center, and it was really an enjoyable game to watch.
It really was, and I saw Tully start and went through the lineup and had 7 strikeouts out of 9 batters. So he really was on. It's too bad he couldn't have pitched longer because he came in, got a no decision, but Mass Boston is still in the losers bracket.
John Carmody with the big offensive outing for North Central, including a double in the 3-run 8th that put them up top for good by a final of 5-2. With the win, Polzel improves to 5-3. Bobby Tremone with the loss. Tramondazi with the loss out of the bullpen. He falls to 4-3. And then our final game of the night between Cal Lutheran and Wheaton of Massachusetts, and there was basically all the Wheaton coach could talk about in the post-game news conference. The performance by Marshall Pouch, the starting pitcher, 8 innings, walked nobody, gave up 7 hits, struck out 10, and for a good portion of the night just seemed unhittable.
It really was a good performance by Marshall, but they bucked a trend today, and they're a top seed that advanced.
Right, they're the only one. Yeah.
So we're and Wheaton had a couple errors. 3 on the board, and Cal Lutheran took advantage of those. And when you get to this level of play, those errors really stand big.
Max Weinstein with one of the big nights offensively for Cal Lutheran. I mean, they only got 8 hits themselves, but he had 2 of them. It included tying the school record for hits in a single season. So Pouch with the win, he improves to 10-2. Trevor Marquez pitched pretty well in defeat. He falls to 3-2. Miguel Salud came on for a fairly shaky 12th save. Although he did strike out, he struck out 3, walked 1, and gave up a couple of hits. Looking ahead to tomorrow, and then we took a question on Twitter as well. But first, tomorrow's matchups, just as a reminder, this is a elimination game in the top bracket between Concordia Chicago and Oswego State, and then the winner's game in that bracket is between Roanoke and W&J. The bottom group, the elimination game is between Mass Boston and Wheaton of Massachusetts. So 2 Massachusetts teams fighting to stay alive here in Wisconsin, and then North Central and Cal Lutheran in the nightcap. But the question is, and of course this is a question that's very important throughout the course of any baseball tournament at this time of the season. And on Twitter from Pollo Picante, at least I assume that's how you pronounce it, POLLO_Picante, of the which team has the best pitching depth 2, 3, 4 in this tournament? And that's of course super important. I think some of the teams that have the best pitching depth are the ones that are really going to need them because they're coming through the losers bracket now.
They really do, and I think the team with the best 1-2 is Oswego, but it drops off from there. I think Roanoke probably comes in with the worst pitching stats.
Probably right.
But you look at W&J, they threw what is their number 3 pitcher on their first day, and they got a win. So they have 2 quality pitchers still in the barn.
Yeah, we talked very briefly about Riley Groves earlier. He threw twice in the regional. He's thrown 65 innings just in the last month. I'm not surprised that they didn't want to bring him back on short rest. I assume you'll probably see him in the winners bracket game on Saturday. But now they've got a little bit of room to play with. Maybe they hold him out for just another day. I know the kid's a senior, and Coach Jeff Mountain knows the kid's a senior. He talked about that in the post game interview. But that's a guy who's had a lot of innings on his arm of late.
It would be really nice to be able to use him twice, once in the series, at the final series, once in the elimination brackets. So it would be really nice to see him tomorrow, and I think I would not expect it.
Mass Boston, right? Yeah, Mass Boston also has really good pitching depth as well, and that's another team that's going to have to use it coming back through the elimination bracket.
And Concordia Chicago also is well set for pitching, and they have the type of staff that you want in the tournament. They got arms, lots of starters, and so they got plenty of people to choose from.
Cal Lutheran, they got the win. They had their best starter, maybe the best starter of the day. But the depth behind Marshall Pouch is kind of iffy. This is typical with teams that can start play lots of games in February and March. You don't need to develop lots of pitching depth, so you've got 2 or 3 starters, that have worked most of the innings for most of these teams, and they just don't have guys who you need 4 or 5, 6 guys to get through the April in the Northeast.
And I think what Cal Lutheran needs to do is they need to keep winning, because they're going to have their 1, 2, 3 starters. You get to your 3rd starter, you've won your pool. Then you go back to number 1, number 2 again, and hopefully you can sit there and get through the series with just 3 starters.
So that's our coverage of day 1 here from the Division III Baseball World Series. Check out all sorts of stuff on d3baseball.com, of course, as well. Game stories from all 4 games that were played on Friday and all the rest of the games throughout the tournament. A great feature by Austin Walther on 2 former players who played here in Appleton as players and now are coaching their teams. That's Jeff Mountain of W&J, Scott Landers of Oswego State. You can see that on d3baseball.com, and of course all of the great photos from our friends at d3photography.com and every post-game news conference as well. Lots of coverage on d3baseball.com. Tune in and we'll be back with more on Saturday.